Skyscraper window cleaners of Reddit. What is most bizarre thing you've ever seen on the job? Once while cleaning a high-rise apartment, an old lady kindly asked me if I was hungry and proceeded to open her window and hand me a pizza slice. So I sat there, 27 stories up, tangling on my chair and eating pizza. It was a good day. Not as exciting as the other stories, but something I'm blown away by when I'm on ropes is how many people feel guilty about not working when I'm around. When you look into people's workstations, you can see that almost no one works. Most people are on Facebook, YouTube or on news sites. But the second they notice me outside the window, they quickly switch to an Excel spreadsheet. Like they think I'm some kind of productivity spy about to rat them out to management. Keep cruising the internet, people. Don't mind me. And also, pointing to the window and saying you missed a spot isn't funny. FCKU. I've been a rope access window cleaner for a couple years and have seen my fair share of weirdness. A couple incidents that stick out are: a young couple having fun that invited me to join, an apartment in a ritzy building completely empty other than a table with several sheets of freshly printed, uncut $100 bills, a real ass mummy sarcophagus, been offered several joint hits and various adult beverages while hanging off the side of a building. Animals were always my favorite though. Cats and puppies lose their minds seeing you outside their window and will happily chase your mop and squeegee while you work. Always brightened the day. Edit. Another memorable moment was causing a mild panic in the dining room of a local retirement home dementia ward. We felt bad and went as quickly as we could. Not a skyscraper window washer, but was a janitor who had to wash the windows in a 6-story building as part of my job, so I used a mix of ladders and rappelling down from the roof with a harness to clean the outside windows. One day I was washing the outside windows on the executive floor where all the bosses and higher up employees had their offices. I was done with one window, so I moved to the next window and looked in and saw the CEO of the company snorting something in his office with the door locked and the lights off. He looked up and saw me in the window and we made an uncomfortable eye contact for about 15 seconds. Then I just pretended I saw nothing and kept washing the windows. Never spoke a word about it to him or anyone in the office, but the last day I worked there he gave me a farewell card with $200 in it and a free solar powered portable phone charger that the company produced and sold. Friend was fresh out of the shower sitting at her computer desk naked when the window cleaners were at her place. She heard a noise, so she turned around to see two men outside her 3rd-story window. So she screams and runs into the bathroom to hide. Later she calls the building management to complain and they tell her that a notice went out and she must not have seen it. Then building management decided to ask the window cleaning service to send those guys to her apartment to knock on the door and apologize to her. Hilariously awkward. Okay. So not exactly what OP was asking for, but a funny story nonetheless. I was in medical school on my psychiatry rotation at the local VA hospital. We're in the 6th floor inpatient psych unit seeing a guy with schizoaffective disorder. We were asking him about any hallucinations or delusions he may have been having. And he tells us that he was seeing ropes outside his window and was worried people were trying to get into his room. Seeing that there were clearly no ropes outside his window, we made note of his persistent symptoms and went about our rounds. About half an hour later we get to another patient's room and we suddenly see ropes dropping from the roof down the side of the building. Turns out the poor guy wasn't hallucinating. They were just cleaning the windows. Lol. I am not a window cleaner, but a paramedic. We got a call once to a suicidal window cleaner guy once. We could see what was going on as we approached. He was swinging around and doing tricks in between each wipe of the window. Like giant swinging leaps and who knows what else. The police had him come down and asked him what he was doing. And he said he just really loves his job. So we told him he needs to be safe and left him to go back to work. One time in college I answered a help wanted ad for a window cleaner. I thought it was going to be one of these high-rise jobs. Instead, when I showed up the interview, it was some methy looking guy in a parking lot. I spent the day with him going from house to house cleaning people's windows. He told me to pretend I was his nephew and he kept introducing me to customers that way. Then when we were cleaning windows he kept telling me his fantasies of F-king the housewives. It was super weird. Plus, he chewed tobacco and while driving would spit the juice between his legs onto the floor of his ratty truck. Then at the end of the day he told me it was just an audition and tried not to pay me. One of the strangest days of my life. I am a window cleaner. But not high rise. The thing I can never understand is when I see lip prints where people have kissed the glass in public buildings. People, if you saw what I clean off of those every week you would never touch the glass. Especially not with your lips. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking when the glass is super dirty, it's usually grease, old condiments, bird poop, salt from the sidewalks, winter in Colorado. And a lot of the time I can't even tell what it is, I just know looks and smells bad. I'm not sure why. But while I was working on the 47th floor, the window washers had to open a window. It was like a wind tunnel. Papers were blowing all over the place. Why can you even open that window? My uncle is a former window cleaner and he said his most memorable moments were when he lived and worked in Rotorua, which at the time was the crime capital of New Zealand. The most bizarre was when he saw some naked guy, obviously high on something, getting Benny Hill chased up and down a street by the police. The second most bizarre was when he heard a crash, followed by a van tire bouncing down the street that was being chased by a massive Maori guy who proceeded to throw the tire over his shoulder and wander off whistling as if nothing had happened. Well, I was washing the outside of the windows at the group home I work at. State was coming by later that week and I was super bored. I walk up to one of my dude's bedroom windows to wash it off and apparently he hears me outside somehow even though he had his radio turned up to about 9F-king thousand. Like he always does. He rips up his blinds, totes naked, and starts slapping himself repeatedly in the forehead and screaming. This was pretty normal for him. But it's definitely the strangest thing I've ever seen so far in my life while washing a window. I was visiting my grandparents in a high-rise, looking out their windows a few stories up. As the window cleaners went by, I happily watched them clean, hands folded behind my back. Because the windows were a one-way type thing where they were basically mirrors from the outside in. I knew this because I'd seen the building from the outside. Unbeknownst to me, the level of reflectivity changes pretty drastically depending on the time of day. And I realized that when the window cleaners were going by, they had to wash the windows while some weirdo, me, stood about 12 inches from the window watching their form. During my stint as a window cleaner, about 3 weeks, I didn't really see anything outrageous, but I will never forget how I got fired. The boss hands me my check, tells me that I don't need to come back on Monday. I wasn't surprised, and says, "Here's geek. You can clean a window and it'll actually be clean." And I can't say that about everyone I hire. But man, watching you climb a ladder is like watching a dog trying to shitty a peach seed. Edit. OMFG, this took off. I didn't think anyone would even see it. I think what he meant was the shaky, super careful, super slow way I would get up to the window to clean it. I effing hate ladders and was battling every survival instinct just to be on the stupid thing. Thus the lack of surprise on my part. It was a normal morning and I had just began cleaning windows. I'm cleaning one with the blind down, not really paying attention. I realize that the blind is slowly rising and when it finishes opening I see him, cricket legend Brett Lee, doing yoga. Will never forget that day. My condo building was having the windows cleaned. Being a teenager, I forgot. I was in my room with my girlfriend at the time. I start hearing this noise and think that's weird. There's no floor above us. So I stop and start turning my head. I'm still on top of her, when bam, ladder appears at my window. Middle-aged window cleaner sees us, starts laughing. I jump up naked, covering myself, and run for the remote for the automatic blinds. Press the button, and stood there in front of the cleaner while my blinds slowly I stand there buck naked for a good minute while the cleaner and my GF laugh their asses off. This guy has the perfect life. Teen. Girlfriend. A condo and automatic blinds. Not really what he saw but what he did. My great grandfather was a window cleaner for a period. He was an immigrant and basically doing anything he could to make money. One day he was cleaning a third-story window and somehow slipped and fell. He then proceeded to get up and go back to cleaning windows because he needed to get paid. I never got to meet him but he was a cool guy. What I got was a lot of flirting. I don't know if the pane of glass gave them a sense of safety. Or if lots of office chicks are just bored. Or if our red overalls were particularly fetching but something brought out the bachelorette instinct. Notes pressed against the glass. Pretend lesbian performances. You name it. Only seemed to happen when there was a group of ladies though. Edit. I'm not you pivot sex despite the weird similarities. Is it too late to switch careers? Not a window cleaner but do have a couple of stories. My parents were having the windows changed one day. And didn't warn me. So I went to bed nude. It was summer and British houses aren't designed for heat. Woke up the next morning to scaffolding being put up. Luckily my bed was hidden so they couldn't see me. But I had to hide in the corner of my bed and text my mum to get some clothes for me to wear. A guy I briefly dated told me the story of the time his parents forgot to tell him they were having the windows cleaned. His entire family went out for the day so he decided to whack one out. Nude. With his blinds open. Just as he's on the edge he looks up and sees a very uncomfortable man at his window trying to clean it. My grandfather met my grandma while working as a window washer. He put his phone number right up against the glass of her office and hoped she wrote it down. She did and called and they've been married for 60 years. Not a skyscraper cleaner. But the person on the other side of the window. I was using a single occupancy restroom on the 22nd floor of a building that had a floor to ceiling glass window along the side of the toilet. Weird. I know. Anyways I'm taking a wicked crap. And I was wearing a romper. So sitting there in just a bra. With my romper around my ankles. Shitting my little heart out. I saw the window washer and was a little startled but thought the windows were tinted it was fine. Alas. We accidentally made eye contact as I was standing up to wipe my ass. Clearly tinting does not work up close. Could have died. Maybe he was shocked to see you stand up to wipe. Mostly just PRN on computers during work hours. Few tits. Nothing too ridiculous. Not a window cleaner. But was caught by one while jerking off. They never cleaned the windows in 9 years of living here and the one day they arrive unannounced. This happens. So embarrassing. Not a window washer but I was working construction on a new tower. A bunch of guys were meeting up on the 11th floor to start the day. As I come walking up I can see they are all staring out the window at the tower across the street where this guy is holding up a pair of legs going to town. After the finish is up another dude stands up and all the old boys start freaking out they were just watching and enjoying two guys getting down. Was in King's Cross in Sydney about 15 years ago. When I finished my drop and landed on a lower roof. I witnessed a working girl giving a guy in a wheelchair a blowjob. He looked at me and gave me the thumbs up. Nearly fell over laughing. When I was in hospital in labor with my daughter. I look up from lying over the bed. Massive belly. Moaning and what do I see? A window washer. The funniest thing was that the windows were reflective and he clearly couldn't see me. Or if he could he was a world champion poker player. He had no idea he was 3 feet away from a groaning elephant like naked lady. Despite the pain I laughed. Opposite side of spectrum. Anytime the cleaners went by we put the weirdest PRN we could find up on our giant F-King TV. We would just casually sit there and watch pterodactyls bang some chick. As if we were watching the news. Hopefully. It was weird for them. Edit. I am happy to see I have been able to share such a lovely film with everyone. Also. Thank you for the gold. Stranger. I was once cleaning a skyscraper where I know nearly everyone that works there. I saw a job interviewer having gay sex with another guy, probably someone he interviewed. The interviewer, who is straight, married and has kids, gave me $500 not to tell anyone. Best bang for your buck, EHH. We had just gotten down to the 17th floor of a 30-story apartment building next to Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia when I realized that I had to take a massive shitty. It was pretty much out of the question to take the scaffolding all the way down to the first floor and back up to the 17th so I could poop. It would just take too long. Lucky for me, the apartments had no residents yet. So I climbed in from the balcony and did my business in one of the toilets. And lucky for me, the apartments had no residents yet. So there was no toilet paper. Wound up using some of our microfiber towels we had with us and didn't really have a choice but to leave them in the apartment. I worked in a high-rise in Chicago. A couple stories from the other side. 1. Sitting in a meeting. Once saw a window washer in one of those bucket seats at the building across the street. Up maybe 40-50 stories. Completely lose control. Flung out and swung around. Spinning. Everyone in our meeting lost our minds watching this. He regained control and just sat there for several minutes clinging to the building. And we all just sat there watching in total silence. It was scary as hell to see. Cannot imagine he didn't quit the job after that. 2. Same job. Different day. A woman flashed her boobs to the window washers. One of them came up to our floor asking for her. Probably hoping to get her number. And word got out what she'd done. She was fired. What I have learned from this thread. Wash windows. Get a free dog. Next time I see a window washer, I'ma rub my tits on the glass. Man, the one time someone asks a question about my job, I don't have anything interesting. Not a window cleaner. But my therapist and I meet at her office in a skyrise. And we've begun this weird tradition of stopping everything we're doing. Even if I'm like in the middle of crying or something. And just smile these huge creepy smiles while trying not to blink as the guy washes the windows. He loses his shit and starts laughing before he gets to the end every time. And then waves by at us and we resume whatever it is we were talking about. I kid you not. When working on a job, a bird flew into the window. AMD, everyone inside was looking dead at me. I later found that they thought I was trying to be funny and get their attention. A cat's butthole pinned to the glass. Probably my reflection. Not a skyscraper window cleaner. But I can speak on behalf of one who was there when someone in my dad's office accidentally let a bouncy ball hit the window and then proceed to walk into the window when he got up and reached for it. Right when the cleaner was there. I've seen old people butts in hospital rooms. I don't know if it's just me, but I tend to not really see through the glass. You kind of get what I would consider like a fourth wall effect. It is sometimes awkward when there's a whole family at a table eating and you're washing the window and realize they're all staring at you. I don't clean windows. But I work from scaffolding and do rope access work on high-rise and skyscrapers in Nick all the time. It's not that often I see something bizarre. And I'll see into hundreds of apartments a year. So I honestly feel many of the posts in here are made up. Sure, you occasionally see the caught off guard tenant. But if you do see someone, they usually just wave and shut their curtain blind. The most bizarre thing I've seen though has to be when I found a section of loose brick about 15 stories up. I removed them to put them in my satchel as usual and found dozens of used condoms shoved behind the brick. Like, how the FCK? I still have no idea to this day. Wow, I've been bamboozled. I was expecting to read weird stories. What a specific job. So not me. A friend of my brother was a window cleaner for about 2 years. This are the most bizarre things. A lot of sex. Drugs. Such as weed. Cocaine and heroin. Some life threatens. A local criminal. I'm not a window cleaner. But I own a pair of binoculars and live across the street from a hotel. I've seen all sorts of strange things. The weirdest had to be this. Looking into one of the rooms, I see a naked man sit down at the vanity and proceed to paint a full clown mask onto his face and wander around the room. He was wearing a bald cap but didn't own a wig. He continued to pace the room for a few minutes, sat down and wiped the makeup off of his face. He then disappeared from into the bathroom. I never saw him again. Come on, window cleaners. Talk to us about all the SX you saw so we can wrap this up. A dirty window. My medical school is 8 floors. There would be huge spiders outside every window. We were in small group and kept hearing this loud smack that we couldn't figure out what it was. The window washer came into view, and he obviously was not a huge spider fan and was smacking all of them. Easily 30 large spiders on each window. I'm just commenting so this thread gets more comments. Given the potential of this question, I'm going to go ahead and predict most of people F-king. Some of those being that the window cleaner was seen by the people F-king and they continued to FCK. A couple wholesome ones about being greeted with cats, dogs, kids who they played with in a wholesome way. And 1 or 2 where someone was caught dancing or filming a weird video for the internet. Office WH Ray Yagalis. No. I'm not kidding. They exist. I've seen their offices. Corporate culture is a strange one. I've always thought about the window cleaners on 9/11, and there were several. The horror of seeing a plane hit your building. They were obviously among the first to die. I'm not a window cleaner, but I'm not a window cleaner. Used to work on cell phone towers on the prairies. Got to the top of a 250-foot tower once and started to find holes in the metal. I look into the distance and saw a shooting range nearby. They were bullet holes. There were people on the range at the time, so I got the F out of there pretty fast. Made eye contact with some woman in a bra while she stood up to wipe her ass. That was pretty weird. One time on the 54th floor of the Sears Tower, I looked in the window and found someone else reposting this same thread for that easy karma. I too have nothing of value to contribute to this, but still can't resist the urge to post. When I was working windows right out of high school, I was cleaning the suite windows at the Wynn where Prince Harry was staying. I found myself cleaning royal vomit off of the balcony window. It wasn't a high-rise, but used to be a residential window washer. And sometimes clients would want the inside cleaned in addition to the outside. First worse was a morbidly obese man who was living at home. I believe on hospice care, but definitely at least with a full-time nurse. The man chain smoked inside his house non-stop. When we cleaned the inside, the water was yellow coming off the glass. Second was the home of the city's university president. Absolutely disgusting. We would find old dog crap lying around. Walked into their kitchen. Dishes were everywhere. And a frying pan had a couple of photos soaking in some kind of oil or grease. One of the cables snapped on my way down. I work for my dad's window cleaning business in Scotland, and while cleaning a couple's windows, ground floor bungalow, I stumbled across the couple having sex in the living room window. They made eye contact with me and didn't stop. Probably the most awkward experience of my life, but you better believe I finished the job and took my £20 tip. I am not a window cleaner, but I know a lot of people will probably comment that are not window cleaners but no window cleaners. Not what I saw, but who saw me. I had just come back from maternity leave and needed to pump. My supervisor offered up her office. I didn't even think about closing the blinds. BC, we were on the 22nd floor. I was sitting on the floor. BC, I needed to be close to an outlet. I was just about finished when I noticed cables moving outside the window and saw the top of a man's head. Anyone who's needed to pump knows how important getting every last drop of that milk is. I didn't know what to do, so I stood up and faced the opposite wall trying to get my bra up and deal with 2 bottles of milk. I never turned around. I was so embarrassed I unhooked my pump and put my top back on and capped my breast milk. I got everything cleaned up without turning around, so I have no idea what this person looked like or how they responded to seeing me trying to get dressed. Get my pump dealt with and not spill any milk.